The use of accident scenes in reconstructing an accident is somewhat an interesting phenomenon because there has been a long history of police coming to an accident scene, getting their calibrated tape out and measuring off the points from the nearest telephone pole. There's a basic problem with that, although I've met in the last 35 years a lot of very competent accident reconstructionists that are with the police department. The basic problem, however, is that you don't get accurate measurements much beyond a two-dimensional plane. Because remember, the police officer is measuring using a tape from a pole, and he's measuring on the surface. So you've got an X plane and you have a Y plane. The problem is you don't have a Z plane or a three-dimensional plane. So what we found through the years, once technology caught up to the concept, was that you're better off scanning in the accident scene three-dimensionally. There are several excellent computer programs that do that. Some police departments are heading toward that. And what the scan gives you is a way of then going back and putting the various entities onto the platform that the computer might build so that you can see what happens three-dimensionally. A lot of times when you're looking at things like reaction time and line of sight, if you use a two-dimensional plane to do it, then you're going to find that the results that you're getting is not quite correct, because the eyeball sees three-dimensionally, it doesn't see in a two-dimensional plane. So if you don't have the capability to do an actual three-dimensional rendering of the site, then oftentimes you can get a surveyor's scope out there with an infrared capability, and you can measure the points that you need, put it into an ASCII format, and then dump it to the computer, and then you can actually build a scene from that. There are a lot of excellent computer programs that do in fact do that. Not everybody has access to a scanner, which is quite expensive, although when you look at the costs involved, it's cheaper to go out and scan a scene three-dimensionally, put it into the computer, than it is to eventually pay for having the surveyor go out and do a two-dimensional plane or even an ASCII file and dump it to the computer. At the end of the day, it's much cheaper just to go scan it, even though the upfront costs are higher, the overall project costs are lower. Once you get the accident scene scanned in, you can then go on to the accident reconstructive phase of the project. I do find, however, that it's often necessary to go back and do a photogrammetric analysis of the scene from photographs that may have been taken at the time of the accident by the police department. Oftentimes, you have to do a lot of rendering of those photographs into the computer to make sure that they're accurate on your three-dimensional rendering. Because remember, when a police officer comes to an accident scene, he's more concerned with the people that are hurt, he's more concerned with rendering aid, and the reconstructionist typically comes in after the fact and proceeds to interview witnesses and that sort of thing. I do find that from accident scene reconstructions per se that the actual data points are usually more accurate than what the fact witnesses may say. Fact witnesses are notoriously unreliable when you're looking at trying to place objects on a scene. Because remember, they only have maybe a tenth of a second, 2/10 or even a second to see what's happening, and oftentimes the human mind doesn't quite process things the way they actually occur.